leads to 15-minute delays. In Leicestershire, an A42 accident near junction 13 causes 30-minute delays. In Hampshire, congestion on the A31 between the A338 South and the M27 results in 10-minute delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast's engineering works affect London Euston services, while cross-country industrial action impacts Roots and Darlington. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Bank Holiday Monday. I'm Dawn Neeson, standing in for the lovely Michelle Dewberry, who's having a well-deserved holiday. On the show tonight is a cracker. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner has brought herself a third home. This one is a £700,000 seafront flat in Hove. Nice, eh? While she's saying her allies say she's needed the 3-bedroom flat to act as a base while she works in London, where she has a grace and favour home already. But with the government crackdown on second properties, what do you think? Do you think she's a little bit of a hypocrite there, maybe? And as more and more St George's crosses flags pop up across the country on roads, railway bridges, everywhere, we are at the beginning of an English revolution. I spoke to a respected historian earlier who said that the English have simply had enough. People in Scotland and Wales have voted against independence, but have they got a devolution? Is it now England's turn? And an Albanian people smuggler says Sir Keir Starmer could end the Channel migrant crisis tomorrow, but he doesn't really want to. The Prime Minister is talking tough on illegal immigration. But do you believe him smashing the gangs? Do you think Labour are serious about stopping those boats at all? And if you're old enough to remember the Labour government needing a bailout by the International Monetary Fund in 1976, I'm obviously not, well, guess what? Apparently this Labour government might be on the verge of doing exactly the same thing. It makes you wonder, can we trust the Labour government with our economy? That's all on the way between now and 7 o'clock. You don't want to miss it. Oh, and by the way, cracking panel tonight. Head of Reform UK's Department of Government Efficiency, Azia Youssef, and the former Labour Minister, Bill Rannell. And we've got loads on the way, but first, it's the latest news headlines with the lovely Katie Bowen. Here she is.
Dawn, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock.
3 people have died and a 4th remains in hospital in a serious condition following a helicopter that crashed during a flying lesson on the Isle of Wight. The aircraft came down near Shanklin Road just after 9:20 this morning, closing the route as fire, police and ambulance teams rushed in. Witnesses described it spiralling before impact. Northumbria Helicopters said that the aircraft departed from Sandown Airport at approximately 9 a.m. and was undertaking a flying lesson. Hampshire police say they are continuing to work alongside the Air Accident Investigation Branch to establish what happened. To the US, where President Donald Trump has signed an executive order that bans flag burning, with those who desecrate the American flag potentially facing 1 year in jail. The president said that the military is ready to go anywhere on short notice to crack down on crime. That's as he signed another executive order aimed at ending cashless bail for suspects arrested in Washington, D.C. The South Korean president has just arrived at the White House for a summit for talks on tariffs and manufacturing. In other international news, President Trump said he wants to end the war in Ukraine and that he has spoken to Vladimir Putin. He added that he hasn't discussed specific security guarantees with Ukraine, but that the US will back up the country. Back at home, the government is promising a fast-track asylum appeal system as the Prime Minister faces growing pressure over migrant hotels and record small boat crossings. A new poll released today shows 71% of voters think Sir Keir Starmer is failing to get a grip on the issue. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper says delays of more than a year to hear appeals are completely unacceptable, with 51,000 cases now clogging the system. The fast-track plan would see appeals handled by panels of independent adjudicators instead of judges, aiming to speed up removals of people with no right to stay. Labour insists the reforms will be swift, fair and independent, but critics warn that nearly half of asylum appeals succeed. Protests at asylum hotels continued over the bank holiday weekend. That's as fresh footage of migrants on Gravelines Beach in northern France has been recorded earlier today. Foreign Secretary David Lammy says he is horrified as at least 20 people, including 5 journalists, have reportedly been killed in an Israeli strike on Nasser hospital in southern Gaza. Officials say 2 separate strikes hit the site, the second as rescuers tried to reach the wounded. The Israeli military confirmed a strike in the area, saying it regrets any harm to uninvolved individuals and does not target journalists. President Trump said he was not happy with the strikes, while the Foreign Secretary added, "We need an immediate ceasefire." And Europe's biggest street party is in full swing as Notting Hill Carnival lights up West London. More than 1 million people are expected to attend today's iconic adults parade, with the highlight of the 3-mile procession. But police say they're braced for trouble as 61 officers were assaulted at last year's event and 140 arrests were made yesterday alone. This year, 7,000 officers are on duty with stop and search powers and live facial recognition cameras in use. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Dawn.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Hello, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Dawn Neeson. Hope you're having a smashing bank holiday out there. Joining me until 7 o'clock, my wonderful panel, Azir Youssef, who's the head of Reform UK's Department of Government Efficiency, and Bill Rammell, who's a former Armed Forces Minister. So we've got a lively one coming up for you. And obviously this show, as Michelle always says, is all about you. So we want your views as well, gbnews.com/your say, about everything we're talking about or anything you have a gripe about. Come on, it's a bank holiday. Let's have a little win, shall we? OK, now we're going to start with Angela Rayner, and there's a very simple question this evening. Is she a hypocrite? Ms Rayner has brought an £800,000 seafront flat in Hove in Sussex. She's already got a property in her constituency of Ashton-under-Lyne near Manchester and a Grace and Favour flat. She doesn't own it, but we pay for it, by the way, taxpayers, in London. Her allies say she'll use it as a base while working in the capital. But the timing couldn't be much worse, could it? As Housing Secretary, Ms Rayner has given councils the right to charge an extra 100% on council tax for second homes, and we're all facing God knows what when the budget happens in the autumn, with mansion taxes, stamp duty shake-ups. Who knows how much we're all going to pay for having a home, let alone a second one or even possibly a third one. OK, Bill, let's come to you on this one. I mean, you're in charge of defending Labour. Congratulations. Angela Rayner, she's been in the papers for 3 days now about her property empire. At the very least, it is bad timing. She's not reading the room.
No. I mean, look, this emphatically is not hypocrisy and it's not double standards. If she wasn't abiding by the rules on second home council tax, then she would be a hypocrite. But she's paying every dot and comma of that second home council tax. Yes, she has 3 homes, a constituency home, this flat that she has chosen with her partner to use her money to buy, and a Grace and Favour residence in Admiralty House, which is for official functions. She's done nothing dishonest. There's been no bending of the rules and no double standards.
Well, she's banged on more than anyone else about how... Oh, actually, no, I think before we come on about Angela Rayner banging on, we have, I think, to go live to Donald Trump, who is talking right now. Yes, there he is. About Ukraine.
China's going to catch eventually 5 or 6 years. They're working to catch. One of the things we're trying to do with Russia and with China is denuclearization. And it's very important. One of the things I discussed with President Putin the other day, it wasn't just that, it was also other things. And I think the denuclearization is it's a big aim, but Russia's willing to do it, and I think China's going to be willing to do it too. We can't let nuclear weapons proliferate. We have to stop nuclear weapons. The power is too great. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to ask you further question about South Korea and U.S. alliance. I'm Anna from the Korea Times, and I'd like to ask you about the trade deal that's on the table. You mentioned about the shipbuilding industry, and President Lee mentioned about the manufacturing industry. And what other areas or sectors that you intend to focus on this trade deal? Because Korea is bringing in many investments and create jobs as well. So I'd like to know the opinions of both, how to get a beneficial outcomes for both countries through this deal.
Well, we're going to get along great because we really sort of need each other. We love what they do. We love their product. We love their ships. We love a lot of the things that they make. And they love what we have. We're dealing with them on Alaska having to do with the oil. You need oil and we have it. So we have a big advantage in that way. We have more oil and gas and coal and energy than any other country in the world by far. No, for whatever reason, God was very good to us. He gave us the greatest. We didn't use it. We started to use wind. Wind doesn't work. They started to use solar panels that took over the land all over the Midwest, where the farmers said, what happened to my land? They'd have a 10-mile by 10-mile solar field that they couldn't farm, the most valuable farming land in the world, probably the most vibrant in the world. And they put solar plants all over the place. It's ridiculous. Big, massive black fields of solar that all comes out of China. Or plastic, all comes out of China. But we have the greatest amount of energy in the world, and we're dealing with South Korea, as you know, in Alaska, and we're going to be making a deal, a joint venture with South Korea. Japan is involved also, very strongly involved. So we have Japan and South Korea, and we're actually the closest. It seems like quite far away, Alaska, but actually it's right up the little ocean, right up the little Pacific Ocean. It's actually pretty close, relatively speaking. But we have more.
OK, that is Donald Trump there speaking in the White House live. He's meeting South Korea's leader and mostly talking about centering on trade and shipbuilding. He's already signed several executive orders today, including one we'll be discussing a bit further later on about the flag issue. And he's signed an executive order making it a criminal offence to damage the Stars and Stripes with a year in prison. We are talking about flags and patriotism coming up later. If you want to carry on watching that, it is on GBN2. However, we're back here now and we are talking about matters closer to home, or 3 homes if you're Angela Rayner. Bill, you were saying that Angela Rayner isn't a hypocrite for buying this home down in Hove, despite having one in a constituency and a Grace and Favour home in London. Now, come on. This is the woman that bangs on constantly about second home ownership, how this is doing the economy down, how this is doing youngsters out of homes. And even, let me just read this bit out for you. Just in July 2024, not that long ago, she goes, this is her speaking, we are in the middle of the most acute housing crisis in living memory. Home ownership is out of reach for far too many. The shortage of houses drives high rents and too many are left without access to safe and secure homes. Angela Rayner clearly isn't. She's got 3 free, safe and secure homes. Yeah. At the very least, she's a hypocrite.
And that's why she's leading for the government the push to build 1.5 million homes in this country.
And how's that going, by the way?
Well, we're at the start of the process. And you know, the rules have been changed to stop
They've only
local
hit
councils.
12% of the target so far.
Yeah, and we're going to ramp it up because we only changed the rules during the last year. But that will make a real difference for people. But this charge of hypocrisy, it rings of the attacks we get in the right-wing press on Labour politicians from working-class backgrounds. We had exactly the same thing with John Prescott, where, if you recall, he was called Two Jags Prescott.
Two Jags, yeah.
Why was he called that? Because he had a government car.
Because he had two Jags.
Yeah, he had a government car, which was a Jaguar, and he had his own Jaguar. Just like any other government minister of whatever party, they had two cars. It's not hypocrisy.
He used one for his wife's hair, to be fair, and she did have lovely hair. Zia, let's come to you on this one. I mean, come on, Angela Rayner has banged on about the house. I mean, she is housing minister, for God's sake. She knows a lot about houses, obviously. At the very least, is she a hypocrite?
Well, it's very Animal Farm, isn't it? You know, all the animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others, such that she needs 3 homes. Maybe that was why she was against second home ownership. Maybe she was trying to promote people having 3. On a serious point, though, what's really crucial here is that this is not just about, you know, saying, OK, we're going to put a tax on this and then somebody consuming that particular product or buying it or whatever. It's really important to look at, as you just did, the reasons why that taxation, the very punitive taxation, was brought in for on second homes, because she said that there was, and I'm quoting her, an acute shortage of housing. And therefore, to go and have this gluttonous splurge and take 3 homes, totally unnecessary, demonstrates, I think, the dictionary definition of hypocrisy.
Are you going to publish what Reform leaders, how many properties they own?
Go on, I'll let you
Reform are not the ones advocating for massive taxation on second homes, attacking people working hard, doing the right thing. By the way, there's now rumours that the Labour are going to tax people's primary residences in terms of capital gains tax on primary residences. Is that something, are you connected enough to be able to rule that out? Despite Starmer, by the way, explicitly ruling that out in his manifesto leading up to the general election.
Speculation in the press.
So it's not going to happen.
To the budget. I don't think that will happen, no.
Okay. Okay.
So what, I mean, they have to do something. They have to do something. We're going to come on to this debate. I don't want to move into it too soon, but they're going to have to do something to fill the black hole. And the housing tax, I mean, annual property tax, stamp duty. There's a lot, you know, capital gains rates. There's loads of suggestions here, but a lot of them do seem to, you know, feature property in there somewhere. You know, people's main homes. Not just second homes, not holiday homes. We're talking about people's main homes. You know, the new version of stamp duty where you're charged for selling your home.
Yeah, I said I don't think that will happen. There was a story in the press last week about a change linked to stamp duty, which was actually put forward by a right-wing think tank, and in that, 83% of people would be winners. Look, you know, there may be changes in the budget. I don't actually think the main residence capital gains tax change will come in.
I mean, she had an extra 100% council tax charge on second homes. So as long as she's paying it, Zia, I mean, I guess we should.
Well, again, the key point is the reason why she was advocating for these taxations. There is, quote, there's an acute shortage of housing in this country. She was supposedly sticking up for people who need those homes. By the way, we don't mean to get into the catastrophe of the total lack of action in terms of house building. Plus, by the way, the insane numbers of people who are still coming to this country legally and illegally, such that the amount of housing stock available per person, per capita, has actually declined under this Labour government. So it is true that there is a big shortage of housing, but ultimately the hypocrisy of saying that you're going to put these really punitive taxes on second homes. And by the way, a lot of those people who are paying those taxes are not multi-millionaires and billionaires. They're people who have worked really, really hard. In many cases, we speak to these people. Both people in the household have worked decades, and now they're being attacked by this Labour government. This Labour government is on the side of people who have contributed nothing to the system and consistently takes from the people who have contributed for decades.
Not true, Zia. And the key point, if you're making an accusation of hypocrisy, is Angela Rayner ducking the rules that she's put in on second homes in terms of council tax for everybody else. No, she's not. She's paying £5,000 a year on council tax for the property in Hove. And if you went through the register of members' interests and looked at the number of properties owned by MPs across all parties, you know, that's not unusual.
It does,
including reform.
Well, I mean, as the council tax, it depends whether the place in Hove is going to be single occupancy or whether she's going to be living with everyone else. I mean, there is that question as well. We don't know that. And going back to the new homes building...
Sorry, Dawn, there is no suggestion whatsoever...
I'm not suggesting she's done anything wrong or illegal, by the way.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. But going back to this home building, which Angela mentions every time, as is her job, to be fair. But if Labour were going to keep up with the 1.5 million homes they've promised us by the end of the term, they should be building a new home. 2.5 homes literally every minute at the moment. They're not.
Well, as I said, the rules had to be changed. You know, there were rules and legislation in place that enabled the blocking of homes right the way across the country. The government has liberalised those rules. The Office for Budget Responsibility actually factored in those changes and said it will deliver the biggest boost in growth on record. Now, they wouldn't be saying that if they didn't believe that the rules are changing and that those homes are coming down the line. Do we need them as quickly as possible? Yes, we do, but the 1.5 million commitment is over the 5-year Parliament.
And even that's probably not going to be enough, to be honest with you, Zia, with the way migration is going up at the moment. Who are these homes going to be for?
Well, even if you look at the OBR, the government's own figures in terms of net migration, you're looking more like 2.5 million net new people arriving in that time. So even if Labour would have hit that target of 1.5, which they aren't, they're not going to come anywhere close to it. There is still nowhere near enough homes being built to cater for the incremental new people arriving to this country just from net migration alone. So this is the really fundamental point. And just because she's paying her tax, from an absolutely outrageous number, now it's just an insane number. Yeah, so now it's just an insane number. But I'm telling you that what the government's own numbers say is that number is going to remain 350 to 500,000 every single year. Then the government is not guiding. The government is not guiding for that to fall to net zero.
That's the Treasury forecast, and it says 300,000. I actually think if we got it down to 300,000, I think we need to go lower than that, probably to 150.
Well, then you have a different view to your government.
But we are in a much better ballpark than the situation Labour inherited, where net migration...
You're building nowhere near enough homes.
Because the Tories just opened the floodgates.
During the general election last year, reforms, running into it, we had a contract with the people where we said reform would take net migration to 1 in, 1 out, net zero. I think where we are now, given the outrageous numbers that we have seen since, I think even that might be too high. And by the way, let's also be clear, every time we look at the revised numbers on net immigration, they are always revised meaningfully, and they're never meaningfully revised down. It's always meaningfully revised up. So the numbers you're just quoting are almost certainly going to be missed by this government
when Labour came to office, and they're now at about 440,000. That's not a revision upwards, that's a massive revision downwards.
No, and we're talking about a revision of actual historicals. We're talking about something different. We're talking about the fact that that million number we're referring to...
the reality where this government...
You're talking about a reduction in net migration, which, by the way, as much as I've criticised the Conservative Party, most of the impact of that was driven by the previous Conservative government. If you actually look at the timing of things,
they got it.
We are going to see enormous net migration. Game-changing net migration in this country as a result of this Labour government's policies, and nowhere near enough homes.
OK, well, gentlemen, we have to finish it there. We will have more migration debate coming up. You won't be surprised to hear that, will you? Also coming up, St George's and Union flags have sprung up across the country. So are we on the cusp of an English revolution? My panel will have their say in just a few minutes.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dewberry, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
as I say, now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
I think the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Dewbs & Co with me, Dawn Neeson, keeping me company till 7 o'clock tonight is the Head of Reform, UK's Department of Government Efficiency, Zia Yousaf, and the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell, and, of course, you out there, because you're the important ones. Lots of you getting in touch as well. Some I can't read out, to be honest with you. But, Steve, this one's to you, Bill. He goes, whenever he's getting schooled in a debate, Bill always reverts to Labour's default position, it was the Tories' fault. I mean, to be fair, Labour do that a bit.
It's technically true. You know, when we're talking about mass migration, that was where Boris opened the floodgates.
OK, and on the subject of Angela Rayner's housing and Labour's rebuilding houses, well, building more houses, Robert says, why are older house owners, pensioners, so insecure regarding their home being compulsory purchased by this Labour government to be used to house illegal migrants? And there is this talk about pensioners being encouraged to downsize so they can free up the housing market so Angela Rayner can buy more houses.
Compulsory purchase of older people's homes?
It was. No, they've been encouraged. It was not compulsory purchase. It was being encouraged to downsize by the Labour government.
Successive governments, yeah, there's been a promotion
Tories'
of
fault.
downsizing.
It was the Tories' fault.
No,
you almost said it was the Tories' fault again. Yeah. Right, any case, we'll move on, shall we? The nation has been swept by Operation Raise the Colours, a patriotic movement which has seen thousands of St George's flags and Union flags hoisted from lampposts, flown from motorway bridges and even painted onto roundabouts. So, could this be the start of an English revolution? Historian and broadcaster Rafe Helder-Manku certainly thinks so. He had this to say earlier.
Over the more recent decades, the flag has had increased importance as we've seen attacks on our identity, as we've seen attempts to elevate other cultures over the predominant English and British culture. And I'm afraid the English have had enough. You know, the English have suffered silently over the years as their identity has been traduced. They're the only inhabitants of these islands whose celebrations of being English is frowned upon.
See, I think we are possibly the only country in the entire world that has a problem with our national flag or the English flag and, to a certain extent, the Union flag as well.
Well, when you say we, I'd agree, but when you say we, we're talking about the political establishment, the political elites. I mean, one thing Reform did shortly after May the 1st in the councils where we took control was our councils passed motions and said that the only flags that could be flown on council premises, these were English councils, were going to be the Union flag, the St George's flag, because they're English councils, the county flags and the flags for armed forces, and our monarch. And that was viewed as extremely controversial. And to this day, by the way, some of our councils are still fighting the blob about that. We have seen, it's really interesting, as people brilliantly go out and raise flags across the country, the St George's flag and the Union flag, they're being told, well, why are you so focused on flags? Flags don't matter. Well, flags don't matter. Well, people in this country are sick and tired of the fact that every other flag was flown with enormous pride, including the Pride flag, the Palestinian flag, all sorts of flags of other countries and political activists. But when it comes to the Union flag, when it comes to St George's flags, the flags of this country, that was something that was always to be looked down upon, and in fact not just not okay, but often associated with sinister and malevolent things. I mean, that was how outrageous the situation has become. So I totally agree with it. English people, British people had quite enough.
See, you don't have a problem with it. You are a person of colour. You don't have a problem with the flag.
Of course not. Of course not.
No. Bill, what is wrong with our flag?
There's nothing wrong with our flag, and
so why
I
are
support
people so upset when it's hanging from lampposts and motorway bridges?
Keir Starmer's made it very clear that this government supports the right of people to fly the flag. There have been a handful of local authorities who wholly wrongly, in my view, have sought to take down those flags, whilst, for example, allowing Palestinian flags to be flown.
Tower Hamlets Council for one in London.
Yeah, absolutely, and don't start me on the leader of Tower Hamlets.
Not me.
But, you should be able to fly the flag. But I will acknowledge this. On the left, historically, there has been an ambivalence about the flag because people saw it as being claimed by the far right. Now, I've always argued, and this government argues, that you reclaim the flag, you don't allow it to be taken up as the badge of honour of the far right. And if people want to fly it, they should be able to do so.
Do you think Trump's got a point here? In America today, he declared, basically, basically, if you damage the American flag, you could face a year in jail. I mean, that is really... Because he says there needs to be more integration, more patriotism. Do you think he's got a point?
Well, I think in America there is a great concern, like there is here, of a corrosion of national identity, of a large part of the elites, politically, and inside the civil service, who frankly hate the country. And I think we have that here too. We have that in many, many cases. I mean, you saw this at HMRC. You may have seen that news recently. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is inside HMRC. Staff during the day were given the ability to go and spend time at taxpayer dime, going and doing a working session, a seminar on the guilt of being British. I mean, how insane is that? That is His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, taxpayer money being spent on time where people are spending doing that sort of thing. And we're seeing that across large parts of the civil service. So the reason why people are doing this, the reason why Operation Raise the Colours is having such an impact is because it is an act of defiance. It is an act of recognition, of pride in one's country.
Bill, we do seem to spend an awful lot of time in this country apologising for slavery, for racism, for imperialism. I mean, hell, literally for being white some of the time. Well, I mean, we are a great country. Our flag is something we should be proud of.
And look, the campaigns on white historic guilt, I think, are wrong. And, the campaigns for reparations are, I think the demand for reparations, if it was ever fulfilled, and it won't be, is about 30 times annual public spending in Britain. The idea that any government in this country is going to cede that amount of reparations is wholly wrong. And you have to, when you look at the past, you actually do have to be self-critical and sort the good from the bad. But the idea that you're ashamed of it, that you dispute it, I think is wholly wrong. And I think people do have a right to have not nationalist, but patriotic pride in their country.
So we agree on that, but it's Labour's Foreign Secretary, David Lammy. There's been no more prominent a voice advocating for reparations than David Lammy over the years, who is now the Foreign Secretary. So you disagree firmly with him, do you?
Give me one statement David has made since he's been Foreign Secretary supporting the call for reparations.
That doesn't mean he doesn't believe it. That doesn't mean he doesn't believe it. But I will say this: the whole genesis and foundation of the horrendous Chagos deal is absolutely based on this idea of guilt. The fact that we have ceded sovereign territory, and we're going to pay tens of billions, probably closer to 100 billion, adjusted for inflation over the next 99 years, to lease it back, is because of a judgment from a foreign court with no enforceability. And there is no doubt, if you look at the academic literature that preceded all of that stuff, that it is based around this concept of guilt. And while David Lammy may not have talked about reparations since he became Foreign Secretary, he has talked a number of times about his political career, probably more so than anyone in British politics at a senior level about reparations.
I'm a former Foreign Office Minister who had responsibility for the Chagos Islands. Nobody.
So you're going to apologise for that?
No, nobody has lived in the Chagos Islands for about 50 years. The reason that we cut the deal was that there was a massive risk that we wouldn't be able to secure the base in Diego Garcia. That's why we struck that deal. That's why President Trump supported us in striking that deal. And the idea that
President Trump supported us doing the deal because we're paying for it. British taxpayers are paying for it.
And it's a good deal to secure a major base that is in our national interests.
Right, OK. Well, we'll leave that one there because we have run out of time, unfortunately. Let me know what you think about that one. We did wander off topic a bit there, but, I mean, patriotism, the flags, why are we so ashamed of our country's flag? Let me know what you're thinking on that one at gbnews.com/your say. Now, after Nigel Farage unveiled reforms, plans to end the migrant crisis over the weekend. Next, I'll ask, are Labour serious about stopping the boats? One people smuggler in France says the government could end the Channel crossings tomorrow, but they don't want to. Much more of that coming up soon.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. Well, there's plenty of sunshine across Europe and it's feeling hot too, but thunderstorms will be developing, especially midweek. So a bit breezy across parts of Madeira and the Canary Islands with showers here. Best of the sunshine really across much of Spain, but still showers will be bubbling up, especially across parts of Italy later and across Greece. But otherwise, temperatures still up at around 29 to 30 degrees. Now, showers will become more widespread into the week, but otherwise highs of 33.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have spells of rain moving through overnight, followed by showers on Tuesday, but it's still going to be feeling warm in the southeast. Now, taking a look at the bigger picture, this area of high pressure slips away and is replaced by this area of low pressure, bringing frontal systems through this evening. So we have a band of rain across Northern Ireland. That's going to push in from the west and continue to push eastwards across Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest, where it could turn heavy for a time. Dry still across the southeast, but otherwise still rather mild overnight temperatures around 16 or 17 degrees. So as we start Tuesday morning, it's a more unsettled start out there compared to Monday. We've got spells of rain across eastern Scotland, could be heavy for a time. Still across Shetland, holding on to that low cloud, but brighter in the west. Across Northern Ireland, a case of sunny spells first thing and a few showers, similar across Wales and the southwest of England. But across the Midlands and southwards, that's where we hold on to a lot of cloud and this outbreaks of rain. Now, this cloud and rain will continue to push its way eastwards through the morning. It generally starts easing and fragmenting, so not bringing too much in terms of rainfall across the southeast. In fact, it'll actually turn much brighter into the afternoon with warm, sunny spells, but elsewhere it's a case of sunny spells and showers, mainly across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Feeling fresher here, temperatures around average, but in the southeast, highs of 26. Now, as we start Wednesday morning, a cooler start, but unsettled across Northern Ireland once again, with a band of rain clipping into western Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest of England. Could be heavy and thundery, and that theme continues on Thursday and Friday, with temperatures close to average around 21 to 22 degrees.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A82 northbound between Invermoriston and Drumna-Drochit, a traffic incident causes partial blockage leading to delays. The A470 near Trawsfynydd has local diversions due to an accident. In York, a broken-down vehicle on the A64 westbound between the A19 and A1036 closes a lane. Cheshire East sees a collision on the M6 northbound between junction 18 and 19. The A42 northbound in Leicestershire suffers an accident and delays. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast faces work affecting services to and from London Euston. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hello, welcome back. This is Dewbs & Co with me, Dawn Neeson. Thank you for your company and keeping me company. In the studio is the Head of Reform UK's Department of Government Efficiency, Zia Youssef, and the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell. But it's you that's important, so keep those messages coming in. I will read as many out as I can. A migrant smuggler has hit out at the government, accusing the Prime Minister of lacking the desire to stop the small boats. Speaking to today's Daily Express newspaper, the people smuggler claimed that the Prime Minister didn't want to shut down the flow of migrant workers. He said if England was a perfect country, people would not immigrate here. They would immigrate to Switzerland or some Nordic country, but knowing that England has big gaps, immigrants find it makes it quite a good place to settle. The policies pursued by your government has let these big gaps that are filled by immigrants. Bill Rammell, Labour don't want to stop the boats. They need these people coming over here.
Well, I actually think that was a fair critique of the Johnson government because we did... No, hold on. We did effectively have a policy that will fill all the labour shortages with migrants from overseas. That's emphatically not the stance of this government. Look, the last Labour government dramatically cut asylum numbers, and I think this government can do that, but it will take time. And this guy who's been interviewed by The Express is frankly sick. He's made £400,000 out of illegal boat crossings. Why hasn't The Express reported him to the police?
We don't know that they haven't. We don't know that they haven't, to be fair. But
they would be trumpeting it from the rooftops if they did.
Well, maybe that's tomorrow's plan.
Look, you know, this is complicated. The processing of asylum claims is up by 25%. The government has now said that appeals through special measures are going to be reduced dramatically.
This was the latest plans, getting rid of a level of judiciary to...
The deal with the French, which over the coming months will start to bite, the border security bill, and it frustrates me like mad that still hasn't exited the House of Lords yet, but that will have an impact, and the impact on illegal working. All of those things, and I recognise they're building blocks that are in place, but they need to start delivering on reducing the boat crossings during the course of the next year.
50,000 have crossed the channel in small boats in the year Labour have been in charge.
Yeah.
Nothing is working. People are crossing the channel in ever-increasing numbers.
Well, it's not true that nothing has changed. So the border security bill, when it comes out of the House of Lords, you talk to senior police officers, they believe that will have an impact. The deal with France, the one in, one out, the intervention in shallow waters...
OK, how many one in, one out have we had so far?
I don't know. I saw the first numbers a few weeks ago. It's a trial scheme that will be ramped up.
Right.
It's a scheme that Robert Jenrick, when he was Immigration Minister, proposed to Richie Sunak because he thought it was a good idea.
Not a very high bar, to be fair. And what about Zia? What do you think?
So the only way that the boats... and by the way, how ridiculous is it that you've got an Albanian people smuggler basically saying that the British government could stop these boats at a moment's notice as well? The only way that you're going to solve this problem is to leave the ECHR, something that Keir Starmer's human rights lawyer will never, ever do, which is why, by the way,
according to opinion polls, the majority of people don't support.
Well, if you look at the opinion polls, a tiny fraction of this country now have any confidence in Keir Starmer whatsoever. Well, we need to leave the ECHR. We need to leave the ECHR, but that's still nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. We have to repeal the Human Rights Act, replace it with the British Bill of Rights that will only apply to British citizens and legal people who are here legally. We also need to detain we need sweeping powers for the Home Secretary to round up and detain everyone who is in the country illegally and deport them to the countries from which they came.
Where would you put those detention camps?
Look, The notion that you cannot build detention capacity for migrants
because they'll be opposed in every area of the country.
Is totally for the birds. You look at what the Trump administration done. They built 4,000 capacity for 4,000 in 8 days. 4,000 in 8 days. And what Trump has done since coming to power the second time, there's been 150,000 arrests. There have been mass deportations and border crossings, illegal border crossings, are down 97%. The evidence is there. The Democrats claim that could never be done. Whatever you think of Trump, the reality is he has successfully solved the problem of illegal crossings. At the moment, you have a massive incentive for people to come from France because we're a soft touch, because our border force pick people up, bring them here for free, put them up in hotels at British taxpayers' expense. And I will tell you, the country is now a tinderbox because of this. People are absolutely sick and tired of this. You saw reports today in the Telegraph, again, that foreign nationals, that, for example, sex offence convictions for foreign nationals are up 2/3 over the last 4 years. Mums are out protesting because they're worried about their daughters. And the idea that Labour can sit there and say, you know, we're working on this, we're going to smash the gangs. Again, 50,000 people crossed the Channel over the last year since Keir Starmer took power, and that is up 35% from the previous year, which was already a record.
Zia, you know, you're saying is reform. You'd leave the ECHR, you'd withdraw, I assume, from the 1951 Refugee Convention.
Of course, we'd have to disapply all of those international treaties that work against the British people.
I happen to believe that's not where the British public are. There is a sense they want the numbers dramatically reduced, and this government is committed to doing that. And the record of the last Labour government suggests it can be done, but it will take time. But I don't think the British public want us to become a pariah state where no one is entitled to try to claim asylum or refugee status through coming to this country. British people have a sense of respect for our position in the world, that people who are genuinely fleeing for their lives, we will counter them.
Fleeing for their lives, they're coming from France. They're coming from France, where about 4 million British people go on holiday every single year. You'd have to explain to them that that's a war zone.
That's why we should send them back to France, and for the first time ever under any government, we've got a deal to do that. And yes, it needs to be ramped up, but it is a start.
My friend, the word delusion comes to mind. The reason why reform is anywhere between 7 and 10 points clear of this Labour government within a year of Labour winning a walloping majority is precisely because this is what the British people want. The British people have had enough. The British people have had enough. Their goodwill, the extraordinary goodwill of the British people has been utterly exhausted, and they're hand-wringing and saying we're going to prioritise the rights of foreign citizens and these courts. Well, that's exactly what these treaties do. If they didn't do that, then why was it that an Albanian criminal, a hardened Albanian criminal and money launderer, had his appeal upheld in a court because, and I'm not kidding, in part because his son liked British chicken nuggets too much? That is a real case as a result of the ECHR. But you're not advocating for leaving the ECHR.
Yes.
So you are advocating for it.
Let me finish my point. We are advocating, and the Home Secretary has commissioned a review to reframe Article 8, which is the rights within the ECHR that protects family life, and that's going to report in the autumn, and that will lead to changes, because that kind of decision is utterly erroneous.
There will be changes. The boat crossings are going to accelerate. Legal migration is going to accelerate, and the protests, sadly, are going to accelerate too because the British people have had enough.
Bill, just want to go back to that message I read out earlier on. I'm so apologies, I've lost your message and your name, but basically you are saying that Labour put the rights of migrants, people, young, fighting-age men coming across in those boats before the safety of women and girls in this country. A couple of messages like that.
I didn't say that at all. And
no, I know you didn't say that, but that's what people are saying.
Okay, and
because you don't seem to be listening to the women and girls in pink standing outside these hotels. As Zia alluded to, we've had reports of sex attacks on the increase. And Labour don't seem to be listening to these people. They don't seem to be listening to the women in pink outside these hotels.
Well, we've already made it clear that any foreigner who commits a sexual crime, that will immediately revoke any asylum claim or refugee status.
But they don't get deported.
Deportations of foreign criminals are up by 14% under this government.
Off a tiny base. You're talking about a tiny, tiny fraction. It's about 5,000 over the last year.
Because you come out...
There's north of 1 million people in the country illegally. There's north of a million people. There's north of a million people in this country illegally.
We are running out of time. 32,000, 35,800 failed asylum seekers have failed every single appeal going, are still here, Bill. They haven't been got rid of. They are still here. Why aren't Labour getting rid of them?
Well, that's exactly what the Home Secretary announced yesterday, to set up a special tribunal process independent of the judiciary.
Just get rid of them.
To dramatically reduce the time that people are taking to appeal.
And even this is in many ways a red herring. Why are these people who came to this country illegally getting any hearing for an asylum claim? One of the things our legislation will do, and Nigel's Prime Minister, is say, if you came to the country illegally, you will not be granted asylum. No ifs, no buts, end of story. You would detain them and you deport them back to the country from which they came.
And you're going to do deals with Eritrea and Afghanistan to achieve that? It's for the birds.
Yes.
It's rubbish.
Well, then why Germany deporting people to Afghanistan via Qatar? You're aware of that? That's already happening. Labour just did a returns deal with Iraq. It can be done.
We are running out of time, but Zia, Operation Restoring Justice, you're announcing that tomorrow?
Indeed.
Yep, OK. Any little spoilers on that one you can give us?
Well, look, we've already briefed that it's going to be a comprehensive plan. We are going to deport not just people who came in here recently by boat, everybody who's in the country illegally, including, by the way, the people who come here legally and then overstay.
Right, OK, fine. Zia, thank you very much. We've run out of time. Oh, so annoying. Anyway, since Labour took power last year, more than 50,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel. So that is the fact, OK. Coming up, I ask if Rachel Reeves' tax and spend policies mean we're going to need, well, beg for a bailout again. We've been there. If you remember the 70s, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 3 minutes' time. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hello, welcome back. Now, OK, one leading economist reckons that basically we are, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, yeah, technically screwed financially going into the budget in the autumn. I've got Zia and Bill here with me. Bill, Rachel Reeves is messing things up.
No, she's
we
not.
are doomed.
No, we're not. You know, this is one economist, and the report is frankly bonkers. Yes, UK public debt is the highest it's been since the 1960s. That is predominantly because of COVID and the justifiable increase in public spending the last Conservative government. No. I'm supporting what they did because it was right to intervene.
Because you wanted lockdowns longer and harder.
It was right to intervene to stop people losing their jobs, and that's why the public debt level that has gone up. Having said that, the latest IMF forecast says that our debt is manageable. It actually praises this government's economic strategy, and we have got, through the first 6 months of this year, the highest growth rate amongst the G7 nations. So is everything perfect?
That's a very low bar.
Yeah,
to be fair.
But it's the competition, isn't it? Those are our competitors, and we've got the highest growth rate. Is it as high as we need it to be and we want it to be? No, and we need further progress. But this idea that we're going to have to go to the IMF for a bailout is utter tosh.
Well, what do you reckon, Zia?
Well, we don't need to take a subjective view on this. You can just look at what markets are saying. The markets are saying, in the form of bond yields, UK gilts, borrowing costs are now at the highest level this century, much higher than they were even at the height of the crisis under Liz Truss. So the markets are rapidly losing confidence. If you remember when Rachel Reeves started crying on the front benches, markets moved very dramatically at that point as well. I will tell you from speaking to people in the financial industry and people who run big bond portfolios, they are extremely concerned about the United Kingdom, about the fact that there's no growth. And people watching this understand that there's a total lack of opportunity and there's a total unwillingness to address spending. I mean, Keir Starmer, despite a walloping majority he won just a year ago, couldn't even pass $5 billion of cuts from welfare, a tiny fraction of the welfare bill and what is necessary to happen. And so that is what's really spooking markets now. There's no growth. And to fund the ever-growing state, what's happening under this Labour government is Rachel Reeves is taking aim at ever more of the middle class, which is why people watching this programme feel poorer every single time they open their paycheck.
Well, for the first time in 15 years, average wages are rising faster than prices, so people are getting better off. But I'll tell you what would spook the markets, Zia. It's a party coming to power committed to an £80 billion public spending pledge, which is what reform would do if they abolished income tax below, it is true, below £20,000 a year, and they come up with policies to fund it of about £1 or £2 billion a year. Utter madness, and the markets would take fright.
It's completely untrue. Number one, any tax cuts will only be done in a phased fashion to ensure that it's budget neutral. But let's also be clear, Nigel is the only person who has stood up in my lifetime. I cannot remember a political leader with a real shot of getting into number 10 in the foreseeable future, standing up and outlining how he will cut hundreds of billions of pounds of spending inside his first term as Prime Minister. We can go through it. Let's talk about the cost of net zero. Let's talk about what we've already cost. We've already saved tens of millions of pounds in those local authorities. We're going to cut net zero, the asylum spending alone. The plan on the deportation plan that we'll announce tomorrow. The deportation plan we'll announce tomorrow will save £42 billion at least inside the first decade, and hundreds of billions.
We're going to have to call time on that. It is a Bank Holiday Monday. Thank you, Zia. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for your company out there. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Michelle's bar's open. Cheers. Have a good Bank Holiday.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening and welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Well, we have spells of rain moving through overnight, followed by showers on Tuesday, but it's still going to be feeling warm in the southeast. Now, taking a look at the bigger picture, this area of high pressure slips away and is replaced by this area of low pressure, bringing frontal systems through this evening. So we have a band of rain across Northern Ireland. That's going to push in from the west and continue to push eastwards across Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest, where it could turn heavy for a time. Dry still across the southeast, but otherwise still rather mild overnight temperatures around 16 or 17 degrees. So as we start Tuesday morning, it's a more unsettled start out there compared to Monday. We've got spells of rain across eastern Scotland, could be heavy for a time. Still across Shetland, holding on to that low cloud, but brighter in the west. Across Northern Ireland, a case of sunny spells first thing and a few showers, similar across Wales and the southwest of England. But across the Midlands and southwards, that's where we hold on to a lot of cloud and this outbreaks of rain. Now, this cloud and rain will continue to push its way eastwards through the morning. It generally starts easing and fragmenting, so not bringing too much in terms of rainfall across the southeast. In fact, it'll actually turn much brighter into the afternoon with warm, sunny spells. But elsewhere, it's a case of sunny spells and showers, mainly across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Feeling fresher here, temperatures around average, but in the southeast, highs of 26. Now, as we start Wednesday morning, a cooler start, but unsettled across Northern Ireland once again, with a band of rain clipping into western Scotland, into northern England, into Wales and the southwest of England. Could be heavy and thundery, and that theme continues on Thursday and Friday, with temperatures close to average, around 21 to 22 degrees.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. The A82 northbound between Invermoriston and Drumnadrochit is partially blocked due to an incident. The A470 at Trorsveen IDD has an accident in both directions with diversions. An accident on the A42 northbound in Leicestershire closed a lane between junction 13 and the M1. The A47 eastbound between the A1260 and the A15 Peterborough West is shut due to a collision. Delays are on the M2 westbound between junctions 7 and 6 due to congestion. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has major engineering works affecting services at London Euston, while Cross Country faces industrial action. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text